Welcome back to Beyond the Label, everyone. Today, we're diving into those crucial years when childhood supports give way to adult services. This is a shift that, honestly, catches a lot of families by surprise. In child-focused systems, the path is usually, well, not easy, but sort of mapped out. Once you hit adulthood, though, the train tracks sort of run out, and suddenly you're laying down the rails yourself. Ruby, do you want to kick us off? I know your experience with Tash has given you a pretty personal take.
Yeah, cheers, Eric. I always say the thing about transitions is they're never just paperwork. Like, I remember when my sister Tash was finishing school. She's severely autistic and not always verbal, so my parents spent months getting ready for adult day services. We met with at least 5 agencies, each offering different kinds of support: vocational rehab, some independent living programs, you name it. I think what really threw us was how different everything felt. Childhood services are like, you're in this bubble with clear goals. Then suddenly, you're making choices about work, money, even health, and there's no single roadmap. And you know, Jane Fresno nails it in her article. You need to start planning early, really early, to get the right supports lined up.
It's wild how right you are, Ruby. I had a similar aha moment when my oldest hit that transition age. People talk about services like vocational rehab, independent living assistance, even Medicaid or SSI, but there's no one telling you, this is when, this is how. The entire mindset shifts from, let's help you develop, to, how are you going to be as independent as possible? Planning ahead honestly shields you from a lot of late-night panic.
That's a key point. And as Jane highlights, the adult system is, well, fragmented isn't even the word. You've got to research what vocational rehab actually means in your state, whether you're eligible for Medicaid, when SSI applications open. And it pays to have a network in place before you cross that threshold, right?
Exactly. And don't wait for like a "you're an adult now" letter. There's real power in getting familiar with the pathways early, meeting counsellors, building routines, making that leap less terrifying for everyone involved.
So, if we talk about planning, it's not a cookie-cutter process, is it? Assessment is so personal. Standardized tests are useful, sure. They give you a baseline on things like communication or adaptive skills. But person-centered planning? That's where the real growth happens. Bring your team together. Talk with teachers, therapists, like even the family dog might have insights, I swear. And be honest about strengths and where support is needed. I mean, as a project manager and a parent, those early money conversations are a pain, but waiting never makes them easier. Oh, and I always recommend looping in your benefits or case manager right from the start. It saves you weeks of guesswork about eligibility and budgets.
Totally agree, Claudia. I always find assessment meetings a bit like that nightmare where you turn up to school in socks and sandals. You're kinda exposed, everything on the table. But that's how you get a plan that's actually about your kid, not just ticking boxes. You want financial plans that aren't just about surviving, but thriving, right? So we started small with Tash. We did practice budgets, tracked her spending on, like, snacks and art supplies, and talked with a planner to figure out what she could get. SSI, some state allowances, all of it. By the way, I still get nervous explaining policy stuff, but basically, get comfy with the paperwork. It's your shield against chaos.
Budgeting absolutely underpins independence. Jane's piece talks about tracking spending, saving for the long term, even just working out the cost of future housing or healthcare. I've heard from families who build basic spreadsheets to help their teens learn how to manage money. And government benefits, sometimes the application process is, frankly, infuriatingly complex. But persevering through that mess really does pay dividends later on. All that said, is there ever a perfect assessment or plan? Not really, but bringing in multiple perspectives makes the whole thing stronger.
Yep, and honestly, half the learning is just starting the money talks early, even if you stumble through it the first time around. Transparency is everything, and it's better to be roughly right than perfectly silent.
This is where the rubber meets the road. building skills that actually carry young people through adult life. Daily living stuff like learning how to cook a meal or organise your time, it sounds basic. But Jane Fresno really emphasises these as the backbone of successful transitions. I once interviewed a young lad who got his first job through a disability internship programme. His biggest breakthrough? Not just mastering the work tasks, but learning how to get up, take the bus, prep lunch. That independence, the small victories, they stack up fast.
That's spot on. I always say teaching meal prep is like the ultimate confidence builder. You don't just get fed, you get choices, you get control. And let's be honest, everyone has burnt pasta at least once. Even scheduling, like sticking post-it notes on the fridge or building digital reminders, it's so empowering. Oh, and don't get me started on laundry. If you can sort your socks, you can handle almost anything. These skills make all the difference when the formal supports thin out.
And beyond life skills, community matters. My eldest thrived because they joined a workplace mentorship scheme. Bit like a buddy system, yeah? It wasn't just what they learned, it was who they learned from. A solid support network, peers, volunteers, mentors, basically turbocharges your kids' confidence. Internships and workplace placements? Massive. Not just for the resume, but for the life lessons that, honestly, you can't teach at home.
Completely. Connecting with those community groups and mentors, especially during that first leap into work or study, turns the scary unknown into something way more manageable. It's those practical, regular experiences, cooking dinner, clocking in for a shift, joining a club, that build lasting independence.
Yeah, so piggybacking off that, as much as we want to bubble wrap our kids, community networks are everything. Local organizations, online groups, weekend clubs, they keep young adults connected and informed. For Tash, joining a disability advocacy community online was a game changer. She made mates, found new art workshops, and honestly, we all learned heaps about services we'd never even heard of. There's just real power in showing up, face-to-face, online, whatever works.
So true. It's also about planning regular touch points, maybe every month or quarter, to keep folks engaged. Don't just join a group and ghost them, right? Volunteering or attending a workshop together fosters both skill building and friendship. I always suggest creating a quick reference plan, contacts for service providers, notes on who to call if an issue pops up, maybe even a family WhatsApp group for updates. Having a communication system is gold for ongoing support and quick problem solving.
And we can't forget about the advocacy side. Keeping channels open with providers, rather than treating it like a one and done, helps nip issues in the bud. Plus, regular check-ins with peers means families don't feel so isolated. It's where shared experience becomes a practical resource.
Right, and celebrating the little connections, like Tasha's art group swapping recipes or her advocacy mates recommending new therapists. Those are massive wins. Sometimes it's these networks that fill in the gaps that formal services don't reach.
Okay, let's get real. A plan is just the starting point. You have to review and revise, like religiously. I schedule quarterly meetings with everyone, family, service folks, even educators if they're involved. We pull out progress trackers, check what goals have shifted, and, confession time, I love a good spreadsheet. Feedback surveys are underrated too. They help spot what's working and what needs a rethink before it becomes a derailment. Celebrate the wins, a new job, a friendship, even a great shopping trip. But don't be afraid to pivot if things change or a plan hits a snag.
Absolutely, Claudia. Documentation is your friend. Tracking milestones isn't just about ticking boxes, it's motivating, especially when you hit a rough patch. The feedback loop keeps aspirations realistic, but also encourages you to reach that next goal. Flexibility is key. Needs evolve, and sometimes that means ripping up the old plan and starting fresh. It's all about adapting while staying positive, right?
Totally. And celebrating small milestones keeps morale high, especially for families who face what feels like endless paperwork. Acknowledge the wins, big or small, because every step forward is a launch pad for the next. But yeah, Don't be precious about plans. Life changes, and so should your approach.
So, looping it all together. The roadmap for transitioning from youth to adult services needs to be comprehensive, personal, and, let's be honest, a bit flexible. The best plans set clear milestones, spell out who's responsible for each part, and keep timelines visible. Teaching self-advocacy is huge. As we discussed back in episode 9, that confidence to speak up and ask for what you need is honestly a lifelong skill. Young people, plus their families, should also know how to tap into legal resources like guardianship info or rights support, especially as adult services open up.
For sure. I still trip over policy acronyms sometimes. But what matters most is building skills in communicating needs. Tell your story, write your own scripts, practice asking for supports, whatever feels most natural. Also, don't shy away from connecting with local legal clinics or guardianship services. Knowing your rights means you're not left scrambling if things don't go to plan.
And just to wrap it up, comprehensive transition planning isn't a one-off assignment. Review, adjust, and advocate always. Your family, friends, mentors, they're part of that ongoing support system. Keep building those connections and leaning on each other. The journey's bumpy, but those supports mean you're never, ever alone.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks so much for joining us. Claudia, Ruby, always a pleasure. Next episode, we'll dive into navigating relationships and social circles as an adult. Until then, keep building, keep advocating, and go beyond the label. Cheers all.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And Claudia, I'll see you on the spreadsheet side. Promise I won't mess up the formulas this time.
Anytime, Ruby. Keep those post-it notes coming. Bye, Eric. Bye, Ruby. And goodbye to all our listeners.